All right. Speaking of Inception Radio Network, our next guest that is we're going to join here in just a second is Carole. Carole has been on the program many, many times. We've talked about so many different subjects as far as ufology and paranormal and all kinds of other stuff. She's a big part of the Inception Radio Network. She does, I believe, either the nightly or weekly UFO news, the IRN news. We're going to find out about that. She's got her own program, plus she is involved with other programs. She is a actress, a singer. She is just an amazing lady, and it's so fun to have her on. So without any further delay, let's get her on. Carole, good evening. Welcome to K-Talk and the Fringe Radio Show.
Hello, Pat. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing good. How about you, my friend?
Well, good. I suppose doing good falls into the category of, like, slightly weirded out.
Well, it could be, yeah.
Yeah, because, and this is not a replay, folks, but the last time that I was your, last-minute guest, I got this feeling. I was listening to you, and I got this vibe of, when you announced that, something had happened, something had happened with your guest you were going to have on, and I thought, and you were talking about, doing a replay, doing, one of those wonderful old radio shows that you are able to call up. And I thought, or you could just call me, Pat. And the next thing I knew, you were calling me, and there I was. Well, it happened again. I mean, this is bizarre because it was months and months and months ago that happened. But tonight I'm standing here at the computer in my standing workstation, and I'm kind of, doing stuff and listening. And I actually, because your guest was talking about the Masonic Temple and the Masonic Lodge, I was sort of thinking, wow, my grandfather was a 33-degree Mason, and my grandmother even traveled by ship with her steamer trunks clear across the ocean to, which was a big deal, in the early 1900s, to Glasgow to some sort of Masonic Rite Temple opening. She was a biggie in the Eastern Star ladies. So I'm thinking here, and I don't know, but frankly, I just have to say it's like some kind of connection that is, quote, other, end quotes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the next thing I knew, here you are on chat saying, am I available? And boy, of course I am.
Well, and here you are.
And here I am. And I'm thinking what I really want to do here is lead into something that, once again is something that, who can see this coming, but this afternoon I was talking to my grown son and asking him for some tech advice. I had to send an Audacity file, and I didn't know how to do it. So I called him, and at the end of our conversation, he said, oh, by the way, coming home from work last night, he's got this great gig with the Directors Guild in Los Angeles, and he said, coming home from work, and that would have been, this is Saturday, that would have been Friday, last night, he saw something very strange, kind of hovering over what would be Rosemead, which is a community in Los Angeles County.
Okay.
He saw 4 helicopters very close together, flying in what he termed to be flying in a definite configuration together. There were 2 above and 2 below. And they hovered, and he rolled his windows down, and he could actually hear them. But they were strange. He's very familiar with what's in the Los Angeles skies over the freeway because, you get stuck, and sure, there's the audio, but then, from whatever sort of situation you have, whether you're listening to the radio or books on tape, but there's a visual, and this visual that he was seeing didn't fit with what he usually sees. He said way off to the side there was another helicopter, which could possibly have been some sort of, a local television station helicopter, but he said, and it was too dark for him to see any markings, but the 4 that he saw in configuration, 2 above and 2 below, they were just, not exactly what he was used to seeing, and he could hear them. So they definitely were helicopters. Okay, so on the heels of that, today, as I'm sleuthing around trying to collect stories for the Inception Radio Network UFO Headline News. Ta-da! Shameless plug alert here. That's my main gig, the best I have ever had. And yes, we deliver UFO and some space news and some kitchen table physics, as I like to term it, 5 days a week, a new broadcast 3 times every day. And then there's the weekend updates with Herman Rohr. But my gig is the UFO Headline News. So as I'm sleuthing around collecting stories for Monday's broadcast, the first thing that smacks me in the face is something that lands on UFO, on Yahoo, just the mainstream, that's my main page. And it is to the effect that KABC has a video of a broadcaster, and the story is that for the next, did they say a week or 2 weeks? I'm sorry, memory doesn't serve. There's going to be some kind of mysterious, and that's the word they use. That's not my word. It's this, and mind you, this is mainstream KABC News. A mysterious set of military exercises are going on over the Pacific Ocean, off the coast, which would be off the coast of Los Angeles. Right. And as a result, neighborhoods are going to be experiencing, although they said, well, it'll be when you're asleep, so you won't hear it, right. But apparently this has changed the flight path for the landing and takeoff patterns for Los Angeles International Airport, which I would think is kind of like major.
Well, if I can interrupt you for just a
second. Please.
No. And it was interesting, and I was going to mention this before, but I did read a report. Let me read it just real quick. It says ABC 7 TV Eyewitness News reports on November 7th that from today till next weekend, mysterious/military maneuvers over the Pacific are forcing a change in L.A. International Airport landings.
That's it.
At late night, meaning noise for thousands of people in the flight path. Then there's an image below this that says, identified space junk from beyond the moon was discovered in October of 2005, and an image taken by the University of Hawaii on their 2.2-meter telescope above that the astronomers are calling WT 1190F is on a collision course with the Indian Ocean.
Right. Now, I reported on that. I just want to interject here. Yes, indeed, and I've been reading about that, and that is apparently the hard news is that is something, we don't know what it is, but it has been classified as space junk, and it's supposed to hit off the Indian coast.
Right.
Oh, my God, so... okay. Well, this is how terrible conspiracy rumors get started, Pat, but it's just like occurring to me, are they thinking like they don't know where it's going to hit?
Right. Well, I don't know. And what is it?
Yeah, exactly. What is it? And, of course, now the conspiracy theorists, and God bless their hearts, but I have to struggle to kind of like stay away from that because it's easy, but it's a slippery slope. The conspiracy theorists are kind of saying this isn't space junk. It's not a part of some, falling apart kind of thing that we sent up there a long time ago, and now, decay happens and blah, 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 and it's about to, fall into pieces and fall into the ocean. Is this, okay, the conspiracy is that this is a craft that is going to its underwater base off the Indian, as in East Indies, as in India, coast.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Has somebody come out and officially said that yet, or no?
No. The preceding was, absolute, the old-fashioned word, and I'd love to think that this is it, falderall, that this is like absolutely somebody's incredible, fantastic science fiction kind of imagination, that this ain't what it is at all, that it really is space junk. And pretty much I think they have some kind of take on where it's going to hit. It's going to be, unfortunately, it's Friday the 13th, which is the predicted date of descent and splash into the ocean. And, of course, that doesn't augur well if you want to get into conspiracies, because Friday the 13th has a huge history.
Right.
And I don't know. Far be it from me. The last thing I ever want to do is put out fear into anybody. And I, personally speaking, for whatever it's worth, I think it's space junk, and I think that we've just got this incredible ability to be able to track such and know, pretty much the where it's going to come down and how. And of course then, but the crazy me, the long-term science fiction lover me says, well, this is just part and parcel of what's going on off the shores of, the state of California, Los Angeles area. That it's, well, I don't know. Probably some of the listeners will recall, and you might too, Pat, some graphics that were from Google Earth. And it indicated a offshore, off Malibu, ironically, in Los Angeles, off the coast, some kind of thing that looked like it was an underwater UFO base.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, okay. And I, I'm so torn here. I have a foot in both worlds. I want to believe, and I have an open mind, and it's becoming increasingly hard to keep my brains from falling out of that open mind. But what I'm thinking is, okay, is there a tie here between the stuff that's about to come down in the Indian Ocean, which, of course, logical brain says, well, it's space junk, and then, the sci-fi brain, which says, okie dokie, let's tally that and tie it into what's going on off of the coast of Los Angeles. Is there some sort of, if this military exercise, this, quote, military, end quotes, exercise is actually what should be put in the quotes, is there a tie? I think I remember some Bill Burns UFO hunters stuff dealing with underwater submersible objects, in other words, USOs.
Right.
And I don't know, is that what we're talking about?
Well, it's going to be interesting to see, because obviously if you've got, even though I know that a lot of people are not big fans of NBC, and the news report between the hour, that was brought up there. So if you've got NBC and ABC, big media outlets,
right,
if they're reporting something, it's more than, Before It's News or one of those others.
Yeah, exactly. I run across that, in my daily efforts to collate and collect news for the Inception Radio UFO headline news. Shameless plug alert. I run across all of this, and I have to sort of do this kind of, I guess I would call it an intuitive vetting. It's sort of like if it strikes me as, oh, you have to be kidding, then I will pass it. However, if it becomes something that's in my face on a regular basis, and if writers such as Lee Spiegel for the Huffington Post, if they begin to embrace this and take it up and write about it, I can't ignore it at all.
Yeah. Is Lee started to write about any of this yet?
I have not seen him on this particular topic yet. I did collect something that I'm going to read on Monday for him, but that was his. But no, I haven't seen him address this. In fact, this is kind of like really new in terms of the military aspect of this, quote, exercise, end quotes.
Well, I wonder. So from what you've read, your digging is Friday the 13th, something big's happening.
Yeah, and something big, but not here, or not in the United States. Something in India is splashing down. Far be it from me to absolutely tie that with this military exercise off the coast of the United States, off of the, predominantly the state of California. I don't really know if it kind of, in fact, I'm sort of staggered by this to the point where I can't really, for what it's worth, tell you what my, as this wonderful person in chat, Sky33, as she would put it, her inners. I don't know really what my inners are telling me here, because it's just like so out there and so kind of dramatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and what's interesting, the little bit I'm I've been following it a little bit, and I know that space.com reported about space junk, saying that there's space, matter of fact, here it is here.
Oh, good.
Space.com is saying that object WT1190F, whatever.
Right, of course, and it was the wonderful way they perambulated that name into like WTF.
Right.
Okay.
Right. I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
But how they're saying that it's just they're saying on November 13th above the Indian Ocean, about 62 miles south of Sri Lanka, it poses little risk to people. It's going to be, they're saying here, possibly some sort of space junk that's coming back to Earth. But it's just kind of weird that why would it slingshot around the moon and come back here? I don't know.
Yeah, and slingshot around the moon. And, of course, I just, went to The Martian, which I saw about a week ago, and the idea of the slingshotting around. And, okay, plot spoiler for those who haven't seen it, so I won't say anything more. But, yeah, it's this, one step forward, two steps back. It's kind of like this little dance. It's like, we're going to tell you this, but we're not going to tell you that. And we have to sort of, I guess, all individually interpret the pattern of the information that's coming in our direction.
What do you think would happen if it turns out that it is weird, because if it's something really top secret, you'd figure that, well, it would have been stifled. But, wonder how it's going to, let's just say it could be just space junk. Maybe that's all it is. But maybe it isn't. Maybe it's something else. And maybe it's going to change things forever.
Oh, and I can only address that with the okay. Yesterday, I had the incredible privilege of doing a pre-recorded interview with Dr. Michael Sala, who is the father of exopolitics, whether he wants to own that or not. And he is such a wonderful, self-effacing guy. He probably doesn't want to take credit for it, but this is a man who just has kind of, he's the go-to guy in terms of what's going on with disclosure, not disclosure, or the lack of disclosure, and things dating way back to actually pre-World War II, and forgive the expression, Nazi involvement with space stuff, and Project Paperclip, which was post-war, and all the things that happened here. The more I listened to him, and the privilege that I had, that was incredible, breathtaking, of hearing his voice in my ear. So it's a kind of a different aspect. It's kind of, it's almost like, sitting down with somebody and you get a read on whether they are absolutely giving you not the real truth or whether they are speaking from their heart and speaking the truth. Well, I pretty much, I got the feeling that of what, Dr. Michael Sala says is the actual factual. And so when he talks about secret space programs and secrecy and the fact that we really possibly have not been told the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth for a long time, it resonated, Pat, in a way that was actual factual, is all I can say.
Yeah.
And by the way, that interview will be broadcast on Epic Voyagers Radio at Inception Radio Network on Monday, the 9th of November, and rebroadcast the following Friday on Dark Matter Digital Network, which is Art Bell's station. Woohoo!
Ah, very good. Now, are you doing your own radio show, too, on top of all this?
Yeah, funny you should ask. Yes. Down the rabbit hole with Carle and her incredible psychic sidekick, who is, at this point, I will just say it's Derhoof from Chat, from Inception Radio Network, and we have an unscheduled date for that, but it is, I think the Hollywood term would be pre-production. It's in pre-production, yes. Yes,
good.
And, let's just kind of wax sentimental here, Pat. I think the first time, besides, of course, I don't know how this plays out for anybody listening. It could be just the height of incredible boredom, but in years past, I was a former veteran of stage and a little bit of screen, and was incredibly overjoyed to be able to be a regular caller to coast-to-coast radio in the days of Art Bell.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And little did I know that it would ever become this. But based on that, I sort of followed my calling, which was an interest in all of this. And then when I listened to you guys, and it was you and Carole on Fringe, and you invited me because I was talking about spiritualism, I called in with a question for a guest you had. And at that point, my real love and interest and pursuing stuff was writing about the Fox sisters in Hydesville, New York, 1848, which was the beginning of the spiritualist movement when they heard the knockings of a spirit, Charles D. Rosna. And at that point, it was sort of like, okay, the floodgates were opened. It was like, okay, Carole, you want to step on in here? And by gosh, I did. So I did your show, and that sort of then sparked me doing a Heidi Hollis show for Inception Radio Network. And then Joe Champion, God bless his heart, said, do you want to do some of the news? And I said, oh, yeah. And now I do the news 5 days a week. It's rebroadcast, so it's three times a day. But it's fresh news daily on Inception Radio Network under the title of UFO Headline News. Best gig I ever had.
Well, it sounds like you enjoy it, and you enjoy doing the digging into it. And as anybody knows who puts these shows together, they're a lot of work. It takes a lot of time and effort. And I commend you on that. That's good. And that's going to be cool. You get that I should say not off the ground, into the ground with your
very funny. But yes, indeed. And of course, I'm going to absolutely be dragging you to come down the rabbit hole. The rabbit hole, I can't own that title. I think actually Nancy Burns, as in Future Theater, as in Nancy Burns and Bill Burns, she kind of like, she would say that, and in listening, I just sort of like glommed onto that. Because what that represents for me personally is the fact that at some point I realized I was being, quote unquote, judgmental of people who would reveal themselves and be brave enough to say, I had this outlandish experience and it went like this, and so as I realized, oh, Carole, you're judging them. Hello, and then putting that together with my own personal experiences, I just sort of said wrong, and I realized that what it boiled down to was these people were simply down the rabbit hole farther than I was, and that's not a bad thing. It's like an evolutionary process in one's journey to discern and to try to incorporate all of the real strangeness with what we have, with our feet on the ground, food on the table, roof over the heads, daily life.
But some of these things, I think, could eventually affect all of us.
Yes. And they do, whether we want to kind of look at them in the face or not. There is an effect. And the effect politically, well, I don't know. That's such a broad scope, but it's a really difficult thing. I'm thinking tonight is Saturday night, and tonight, Saturday Night Live, it's going to be Donald Trump.
Yeah, did you hear all that stuff about there's people that are there's organizations. Was there one I thought I heard one about if someone will throw something at them, they'll pay them X amount, and people are just.
Whoa! No, I missed that part.
Yeah, there's one. I think there's one organization said they'll pay. Either was it $5,000 or $50,000 if somebody throws something at them. I don't quite remember what it was, but everybody getting all wound up.
The word that is coming to my mind with quotes around it is immature. I mean, I understand the implication. There's just got to be a better way. That's like, throwing spitballs at the teacher.
Yeah. Well, that is quite immature, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And all that does, as far as I'm concerned, is that just makes a bad statement. That if you've got an organization of some sort, and now you're going to resort to those tactics, I think all it's going to do is discredit your organization if you've got any credibility to begin with.
Absolutely. That's it. It's it doesn't work, and I can only say that doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So do you have you're doing Epic now? This is Monday night, you said?
Yes, I am what is called a rotating host. Fortunately, I get to stand still as I do the interview, but we sort of change off. Although this is Monday that I will be interviewing Dr. Michael Sala, and the Monday after that, I will be interviewing a fascinating woman named Nancy Dutertre, and she's the author of How to Talk to an Alien. And on her book cover it says, can they speak our languages? Can they read our minds? What are they trying to tell us? And her book has a foreword by Stanton Friedman. And by the way, her incredible bio, oh my God, it is just to die for. She's really highly placed and very intelligent. And that's her book. And that'll be the Monday after next. Yeah, and that's my interview for Epic. Yeah, I landed in this incredible position. I don't know how I got so lucky, Pat. I do, however, have to say that it kind of like all started with you and Carole.
It's a sickness, Carole. It's a sickness. It is.
Oh, it is a sickness then. And if that's a sickness, I don't want the cure.
No, it's good. It's good. Hey, we got a caller. You want to take a call?
Absolutely.
All right, caller. Good evening. Welcome to K-Talk.
Well, good evening, Pat and Carole. It's Der Hoof.
Well, hello, my friend.
Hello.
How are you doing tonight, Der Hoof?
I'm good, Pat. And you guys, it's really good to hear you back again, dude.
Well, thank you. I took a little hiatus, and I needed it, and I've got the boys from Game doing the last Saturday of the month, so it does give me a little bit of time for family and what have you, but it's always fun to do the program.
It's listen, I've got to tell you that for all the years that I've listened to you, I cannot believe that you actually did this show 6 days a week. And there are listeners out there who don't know that you did Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Oh, yes.
And then did your 4-hour, or actually it was a 3-hour show on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I think it's just stellar that you did everything that you did. But anyway.
Stellar. That's such a pun, but that's okay because we love you, so we will vet all your puns. But, yeah, oh, my gosh.
I'm calling in tonight to tell folks that Carole Scott, she's hosting Epic Radio on IRN Network on Monday night, and she's interviewing Dr. Robert Sella. And it's going to be an awesome show.
Oh, bless your heart. You are such a supporter. Oh, my God. Of course. Now, need I mention at this point that said caller is my psychic sidekick for Down the Rabbit Hole, which is my in-pre-production show for Inception Radio Network. Hello. Der Hoof, are you there?
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
Okay, he's there. All right. How's your weather out there?
Actually, it's been pretty weird here. It's been rather warm and humid. Very unusual for New England weather. It's supposed to be kind of cold and clammy.
Right. So what's happening with the leaves? Are they turning?
Well, the leaves have turned. The majority of them have dropped. But
Right.
It's been such a dry year. They're, it's a totally different fall for us than it has been in the past. But whatever.
Wow.
I would like to send out a shout out to the folks in Sandy, Salt Lake City. We love you guys, man. And you guys over at the university, you guys need to be listening to Fringe Radio Network.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We need to inculcate this huge new generation that's waiting for some sort of a cue, and I'm saying, come on in.
Yeah, we've got a really dedicated group of a lot of them are engineering students up at the U that have been following us for quite a long time, and of course we're thankful to all the listeners and followers. But they're a young group of people, and it's kind of nice. I wish some of them would call in. They email all kinds of stuff in, but it would be nice if they would call.
Well, I wonder.
Yeah.
That might be a generational thing, that they're like more comfortable with the texting, emailing, part than the actual voice.
Maybe. Who knows? But that's okay, as long as we know they're listening and they email.
Absolutely. Any contact is better than no contact.
That's right. Without
you know what, guys? This raises a question.
Oh, yes.
And that question is the field of ufology dead now? Because we're not hearing as much from folks about UFO sightings and things as we've heard in the past. And I'm a little bit concerned about what that means.
Well, the one thing I think that is happening is we're starting to see, and I know I was on a radio show here on IRN a while ago, and when I talked about the old guard getting a little bit old, I got beat down for it.
Right.
But that's okay. That's really what I have believed for a long time, is that kind of there are new people out there that are getting involved. Matter of fact, here in Salt Lake City, and I don't know if she's listening tonight or not, but our good friend Erica Lukes, who is the MUFON director for Utah, she is doing so much for this area. Has gone, such a long time with nobody. Of course, we had the famous Alien Dave, who has an unbelievable website, although he's now just doing videos and movies, YouTube things, pretty long length stuff, and he was so heavy in the UFO research group here in Utah. There's quite a few people, and of course our good friend Elaine Douglas, who passed away sadly. Right. Elaine and a lot of people, and Erica stepped up, and now she also has somebody else. I believe they have an assistant state director now. So there's new people. There is new people coming out of the woodwork, and the interest is there, and I think the new people will fire it up, and maybe we'll get some new books. And, I think it's good. I think it's just, again, I never put down the work of any of these longtime ufologists at all. Right. And I don't want anyone to think that. But, again, it's you need new people on the scene. Some of these people have been, beating the same tree for so long. Although you look at people like Frank Frashino Jr., who we had on a week ago. Frank's an amazing guy. He has just scratched the surface and is just, going down the rabbit hole. And I think I mentioned that during the show.
I love
He's
that,
going
yes.
even deeper on it. So, yeah, it's good to see people re-energize, maybe change, regroup a little bit, and start to move forward again.
Well, yes, because there is an ever-increasing amount of information, and there is like some sort of focus that's kind of shifting, and then of course I have to bring this up. There is the hoaxing. Now I don't know. I would love personally to think that this is the death throes of the UFO and the possible connection between some sort of off-world panspermia, ancient alien connection to who we are and what we are. I'd love to think that this is kind of like the dying breed, and we're going to then pull off all that stuff and be able to look through it. There has been, and I addressed this on Friday's UFO Headline News, there are a series of hoaxed photographs, and there is no question that they are hoaxed. You will see what purports to be and is said in these accounts, which are submitted to MUFON, to UFO stalkers in particular. Now, okay, I just have to step aside here and say I am not throwing any kind of stuff to besmirch UFOstalkers.com, but their information is sort of fresh, unvetted, and one has to step aside and make that discernment for oneself. But there have been a series of photographs that are showing quote unquote an enormous disc-shaped mothership UFO with some sort of almost, I can only describe them as hieroglyphics on the underside, which show from the ground up. And they're put out there in UFOstalkers.com, and I'm sure many other venues that I have not even perused. And these photos allege to show this craft, which is so enormous. Part of it is even covered in clouds. And the Photoshop, I've got to just say it, it's a Photoshop, folks, and it shows various backgrounds, everything from a mini mall to, a pastoral, some sort of urban or suburban milieu, and it's there's one shot of a fellow holding his children, one in each arm, and this mothership, unbeknownst to him, is hovering over them. And when I kind of said, like, what's up with this in UFO chat at Inception Radio Network, well, one of my incredible loyal listeners from Canada sent me an incredible link that is, the headline is UFO International Project, and it's all of these photos which are exactly vetting what I said, that and what I felt gut level. This isn't real. This is somebody doing a Photoshop. And then beat. Let's try to figure this out now. Is this something that the government is kind of doing? That this isn't real? In other words, stuff on the wall to discredit, to obfuscate, to make even more confusing this whole thing of what we're trying to figure out is in our skies.
Crazy. We got another call. You want to take another call?
Oh, sure.
Is our bro Durr still there?
Hello, Durr.
Okay.
Okay. Hello.
Caller,
Hang
good
on.
evening.
Hang
Welcome
on,
to
Durr.
K-Talk. You're on with Carole.
Yes. It's good evening. Is there anything about this extraterrestrials from going from Area 51 to Dugway Proving Ground? Dugway Proving Ground in Utah.
That's really if I'm getting this right, that's very interesting, because this would be an Area 51 to Dugway, which is close to you, Pat, yes, in Utah?
Yes, very.
Right. And so, in other words, I'm just going to have to wing it here. Are we talking about a situation from...
First of all, it is larger than Area 51.
Yes, okay.
It is extremely more secret because they deal in things like anthrax and chlorine gas and all these other things, and it is a huge area, larger than Area 51. So please tell me, is this the new Area 51?
I think it could be, and then there's some. I mean, I know that the runways at Dugway, the main runway is quite a bit larger than the one at Groom Lake. If you look at the photos of it, I mean, the Groom Lake photos have some unbelievably long runways, but the one at Dugway is, I think, it's almost twice as long.
Yeah, so, Pat, I think what we're looking at in terms of Dugway is the fact that it's really become kind of a foundation for the future aeronautics, secret aeronautics that the government's been involved with. And that's the reason why they moved out of the Area 51 and into the Dugway situation to kind of move it. You probably know that Dugway is farther out and away from eyes, from civilian eyes, and,
right.
and that they're performing things with aircraft there that can't really easily be seen.
Not only aircraft, but in the past few months, anthrax and all these chemical and biological weapons are from Dugway.
Interesting, very interesting.
Yes.
Well, is it not true? I mean, in the past year, there have been packets of anthrax that were supposed to be dead, but they were sent out to various things that, and when they were alive. So Dugway is more than just a conventional weapons thing. It is totally chemical and biological, and it is the containment of this is whatever.
Scary stuff.
I want to. Yes, it is. It is definitely, absolutely scary stuff, and I just want to offer, from whatever it's worth, I want to offer my gut level, I don't know, empath, psychic, intuitive from the time I was born. I just want to offer to the caller that I have a very difficult time believing that this is any kind of threat to humans on this planet, in this country, at this point. It just, I'm not getting that, if you will, in quotes, in a way that would be able to confirm this. And I want to make him feel better, because I just don't think this is the case.
But again, I think what he's saying is that it's been a top secret base for a long time, and there are probably a lot of things that have been developed there over the years. But those things could have been developed at Wright Pat and a lot of other places.
Exactly. But I'm not really. I don't know. It's bizarre. It might be antithetical, but I just don't feel that the population of the United States is in threat, well, maybe political threat, but not in actual physiological threat of anything that is in our skies.
Well, I hope not.
It's just me. I don't know.
Hey, thank you for your call, caller.
Thank you very much, caller, by the way. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Do I have another question?
Sure, go ahead. We've got a couple minutes left. Go ahead.
Okay, but, back in 1968, 6,000 sheep were poisoned by things that came out of Dugway Proving Grounds of poison gas. And, not one word was said about there had to be shepherds there. How many shepherds died? They came from Bolivia and Peru. That's where the people who hired shepherds came from.
Yes.
and also, you know, the poison that comes out of everywhere from this planet. I am sorry, I just lost.
No, go ahead.
But the Dugway Proving Grounds, the latest thing was a chlorine gas.
Yes.